I got some merch. So 3 colors of, these are Carhartt hats, by the way. The navy, which I'm wearing the navy one. Right? Little trucker, snapback trucker caps. Khaki one, which I think is pretty cool. And then like a gray one, like a kind of a gunmetal. And I have these, which these just came. So all the stuff that I ordered for this conference came, thankfully. Adjust your TV, knockoff Yeti tumbler. So, you know, see how they do. Just got them, so excited. Yeah, so basically, Adjust Your TV, our booth is going to be most likely out in there's a rotunda right outside the main conference hall. There's a big open area with like a vaulted ceiling and like a big round skylight dome thing. And I think we're going to set up out there. But I will be, me and Max Olson and James Mathis will all be there, and we'll have a little interview set up. If you want to come over and talk about, you know, your experience as an adjuster, fast track deployment certification, you know, whatever you want to, you know, we'll you know, what your experience is at the conference and all that kind of thing on video, then you get your pick of a hat or one of these tumbler guys. So that's the deal with these. I'm not selling them. We're just going to give them away to people that, well, it's got a rubber bottom, that get in front of the camera. So, and then that is 90% what's probably going to happen as far as where we're going to be. There's a 10% chance that we haven't been into the space yet. We step inside there and decide that we want to set up inside. But either way, we will be there. And I strongly encourage you to come over and chit chat. You know, if you want to do it towards the end of the day, you know, catch us as we're heading off to happy hour. Not a bad plan. But yeah, I'm stoked. That's not next week, but the week after. So it's coming up pretty fast. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'll be driving down, which is why I said if I get there, I'll be there. It's about a 16-hour drive from here. And as long as the weather holds, shouldn't be a problem. But if it gets, you know, if you get a big winter storm or something like that blowing through one of the passes, then it might delay me a little bit. So hopefully not. Yeah, I think that if you go to the, hold on a second, the website, nacatadj.org, nacatadj, there should be some discount hotel rooms. Hotel and transportation. Yeah, so Saturday night, if you come in Saturday night, it's $79 a night. And then Sunday through Thursday, it's $69 a night. So if you probably need to book through this link, which I'll give you guys right here. Yeah, so there's a group code, so you get a little bit of a discount, and I'm sure that there's probably, well, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure that there's rooms, but there should be rooms. It's a reduced resort fee as well, which, you know, I mean, can you imagine $39, $40 a night resort fee? Like, what does that go to? Who charges that? Is that like for the city, or is it for the hotel, or what? You know, the hotel rooms, and I will say this, and you guys, I'm sure if you've been to Vegas, you probably know this, but the night stay at the room may be $69 a night, which is pretty cheap, plus $15. But you look at that room service menu, and if you try to order a pot of coffee for yourself and your wife or whatever, it's $40 or $30, $35 just for one pot of coffee with your breakfast. Your breakfast ends up being over $100. I mean, you could get an Uber and have them take you to McDonald's and back for, 30 or $40 total probably. So it gets a little bit ridiculous, but, it is what it is. Do you guys have any questions about Xactimate? Because I've got Xactimate up here. And I can go through some stuff if you want me to. Oh. Huh. Bookings closed on 12/22. Well, you know what? Let me they should know that just about everybody does this stuff at the last minute. It's 12/22. I mean, that's like a month from the... Stand by. I'm emailing the executive directors. Okay. Tornado. Rob, when did you join the program? Was it in September or back in July? September. Yeah, it should be. So the Tornado project was the previous group. The Menuno's homework is it's essentially, it's pretty similar. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar, and I made it a little bit more simple. So it's if you haven't done the Menuno's stuff, go ahead and work your way through it. It shouldn't take you any time at all to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it may have been, the hotels may be an issue, I guess. Yeah, he's sleeping under the table, Rob. You know what I might do here? Let's do this. Talk about wildfires a little bit. I talked about winter storm stuff in last week's video. Is that last week? Yeah. Wildfire is kind of a mid-late summer sort of a kind of an event, so it's not really relevant right now. But a lot of times with wildfire claims, you'll get houses that are actually burned down or have like severe fire damage to them, varying degrees of, being burnt. A lot of times they'll have water damage from if the fire department or the fire, people were able to get in there with pump trucks or, could get in there and try to put fires out. There'll be water damage in the houses as well. But mainly, if a big wildfire blows through, they'll evacuate everybody and just let it burn itself out. I have seen, and I found a picture of it, but I've got it on my phone. I have seen in Colorado, outside of Denver, up in the foothills, a lot of the bigger, more expensive houses up there have these elaborate sprinkler systems on their roofs that, theoretically will, keep everything wet and keep them from catching on fire, which I'm sure they work to a certain degree. But with a lot of wildfires, it's kind of like hurricanes in that you have, with a hurricane, you'll have like a big storm will hit the coast, it'll hit Fort Myers and do absolutely catastrophic damage on the coast and, several miles inland. And then it starts to kind of, as it gets into trees and it starts to the storm starts to weaken, then it'll be more just the damage will get lighter and lighter the farther inland you go. It's sort of the same with wildfires. So you'll have an area where there was significant damage, a bunch of total losses, and then because of the way if the prevailing winds are blowing the fire, say out of the southwest to the northwest, any houses that happen to be at the northwest of the fire, if they're close enough and if it's the smoke is thick enough, then they'll have smoke damage or smoke and soot and stuff will get all over the house. And, because houses are not watertight or airtight, the smoke will find its way in. And the people, maybe they evacuated, maybe they didn't, but they'll come home and they'll find that there's a layer of black, real fine soot all over every single thing in their whole entire house on the inside and outside. And then, or like a really strong smoke smell and everything, like the couch and the carpet, any upholstery or, drapes and clothes and all that stuff just reeks of, wood smoke from a fire. And it doesn't smell like, wildfire smoke doesn't smell like a campfire or like a wood stove smoke. It has a kind of like homey sort of, smell. It smells like devastation because it's burning everything. It's burning the soil, it's burning all the underbrush, it's burning the trees, it's burning other houses. So the smell, the smoke comes from like burning all that stuff, not just like nice pretty logs on your fire. So it reeks. I mean, it's terrible, and it burns your nose and it'll burn your eyes. Even if you show up to a house, if you go into the wildfire area, a week or two after the fire, there's still like this off gassing of like, I don't know what it is, but it's not really smoky anymore, but everything is like burnt, right? So your eyes will burn and your nose will burn and it burns your lungs and stuff. So you kind of have to, it's devastating in so many ways. But because you have all that smoke, like I said, you get, houses that don't have any fire damage, like nothing was burned at all, but they've got soot on everything or they have everything just reeks of this like terrible, like acrid, super smoky burn smell. And we owe for that. So we can pay for that. It's mainly going to be cleaning, right? So if you have, if you look at the outside of the house, theoretically it rains and that stuff comes off. Sometimes you can, depending on how thick of the soot is on the outside of the house, you might be able to get away with cleaning the outside of the house or cleaning the windows at least. You're probably going to want to clean all the inside of the house. You might, depending on how bad it is, you might be repainting on the inside. And then there's all kinds of HEPA filters and vacuums and, steam cleaners and all this other kind of stuff. So you can literally clean every single thing inside the house. And so you're going to make these gigantic estimates that have all these cleaning items in them, right? So in other words, I've got a sort of a template estimate here. If you look at the living room, I'm going to do that. This thing's slow. And, you've got your F9 note, right? We always talk about that. Following line items are for cleaning, deodorizing of this room, right? You could add because of nearby wildfire or whatever, right? And then you're going to clean everything. You're going to move the contents out of the room, right? Then you're going to clean the ductwork. You're going to deodorize carpet, drapery hardware, balances, wallpaper, trim, baseboard, do literally every single possible thing. Outlet covers, light fixtures, so on and so forth. I don't think I have any contents on here, but it's the same thing with the contents. And you can have, maybe I do have contents on here. This is a replacement. Refrigerated food loss, you might have that on there. But this is one of those things, again, where you're going to, based on what you can see, right? So I can see, I've got videos on Adjuster TV Plus about this, along with this particular estimate template. I can go into a house and see, using packing tape or using like alcohol swabs or whatever to try to make a clean spot on the wall so that you can document that there's soot on there. But even if it just smells bad, you saying, and I've done these, I think that a good IA firm and a good carrier will say, we'll have your back. If you're like, man, I walked in that house and it was just like my eye started burning. It smelled so bad. I didn't really see a whole lot of soot on everything, but everything just smells terrible. It smells like soot. Pay for cleaning every single thing inside the house. And those estimates for a regular old 2,000 to 4,000 square foot house can be minimum $16,000, $18,000, $22,000 claims just with cleaning items, right? So they add up big time, especially with the personal property. And then when the homeowner's like, well, I don't know if I can get these cleaned or not, I'm like, you just say, well, just try. You can pay for a professional. They have them, professional contents cleaning companies. I talked to a lady at the Crawford CatCon conference in Orlando last year they will clean, like, if there's a car, like not a car crash, but like an airplane crash, and all the personal property and people's luggage and stuff, they will clean all that stuff. If it was like got fuel on it or dirt or busted open on the highway or over the runway and the snow and the dirt and everything else, they'll clean all that stuff. They have these special ways to make it like brand spanking new. So most things can be cleaned. If it can't, right, then that's when you tell the homeowner, say, listen, just do your best. There are companies that, we're happy to pay for these companies to, do this high level professional cleaning. If it doesn't work, let us know and we'll talk about, what steps we can take beyond that. But wildfires are, they seem like a lot of work, and I think in a lot of ways they are, because you are hitting a lot of different coverages. Because the fire, especially with a total loss or even a partial loss, if the house is not inhabitable, power's out, you can see the fire burned a hole, you can see the sky through the kitchen or whatever. It's not really habitable, right? So you're triggering ALE. They certainly have personal property that's damaged. The dwelling has damage. Other structures has damage. Refrigerated food loss. They may have had trees that were caught on fire or that were burned and died and then were blown over onto the house. So you could have like treated. I mean, you could be pinging a lot of different parts of the policy. So you have to be really diligent and kind of detail oriented when you're organizing everything in your estimate for how you're going to pay for stuff. And speaking of trees, a lot of policies will have allowances for, like, there was one policy that I did claims in Colorado on the Waldo Canyon fire, and they said any tree within 250 feet, I think, of the house, you could replace up to like $300 a piece or $150. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there could be hundreds of trees, dozens of trees probably in that radius, and you're out there just counting trees and taking pictures of groups of trees, right? And then just like one, just making tick marks on your sheet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and just going through, and you know what I mean? So they can be interesting claims, and you're not doing probably more than one a day. With good, I will say that with any total losses, don't even think you're going to try to do more than one a day. But with smokers, with a good macro and a good template like that, where you've got like, again, you have every single room over here that you could possibly have with every single thing that you could possibly have in it, right? Then you can just go through there and delete what you don't need. And, if you need to add something or whatever, then you can add it. That makes quick work of smokers. So you can do several of those in a day. You're going to need to spend a little bit of extra time with the homeowners. You may be meeting with, Serve Pro or Belfour, Service Master, or, Blackjack Restoration or whatever it is, and making sure that you're, getting everything and addressing any concerns that the contractor may have. They may come in and say, well, we're going to have to rip all these cabinets out, blah, blah, blah. Well, why? Let's, show me exactly why we have to rip all the cabinets out, and then if you agree, then you do it. If you don't agree, then you document why they said they wanted to do it. And then in that case, especially if everybody's getting a little bit, worked up about stuff, don't commit to anything. I would just say, I'm not exactly seeing a reason why we need to replace these cabinets. There doesn't seem to be any physical damage that we can't clean. However, I'm going to take this back to the office and sit down with a file examiner, or a team lead or whatever it is, and we'll look it over and see, and we'll come up with a decision. I'll call you back, right? So you kind of give them you give yourself a little bit of an out, since if it's not a definite denial right there on the spot, then you're kind of like, can kind of extract yourself. If you're not sure, right? You don't want to be like committing one way or the other if you're not totally sure. I want to get my manager's eyes on it, and then make a final decision. But if you know, like if it's a water claim, if it's water damage and it's 100%, you did all your due diligence, you did your investigation, and you're like, man, there's no way in the world I could pay for that, then you have to deny it on site. Be emphatic. It's not like a maybe or a seems like or a possibly. It's a, I'm sorry, we cannot do this, right? But then you always add on the, and they're gonna start. Depends on the person, but they get mad or sad or defeated or whatever, right? Then I always add, however, that being said, this is based on what I can see, based on what you've told me, based on my investigation and everything that we looked at, trying to figure out exactly where that water came from. If you get a contractor or a water restoration company and they come up with something different, or they find some other source for the water or whatever, call us back and we'll talk to them and address things and kind of go from there with it, right? So they give a little bit of glimmer of a hope that, well, maybe it could be covered if the adjuster's basically saying, that it's not covered. However, he's admitting that he can't see everything. He's not God. I don't know if that's what they're thinking, but that's what I think that they're thinking. And it tends to work because they're okay. Yeah, it's fine. We'll get our contract right here. We'll take a look at it. And, and I say, listen, here's my cell phone number. If you got questions, if they think that this should be covered, because of, they think the source was incorrect, which it could be, right? It's based on what I could see, based on being at the house. Call me back, right? And And it's, that goes for any kind of claim, right? You write a $20,000 cleaning estimate, and the cleaning people say, they're professional cleaners, and they're like, there's no way in the world we can clean this without destroying it. Maybe let's just replace that then, or give them some kind of an allowance or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about doing claims like this where, for me, that kind of like being organized with this. And you'll hear people they'll say, you can't be a very good adjuster if you don't have good time management and you're not super organized. You can learn both of those things, absolutely, because I had to. I was not organized, and I had terrible time management before that, before becoming an adjuster. But something clicked in there, and it was like it became like a fun challenge, right? Kind of like putting together like a really cool puzzle and figuring all the pieces and putting everything together and getting more and more and more efficient at finding the right place for the puzzle piece. So a big claim like a total loss fire claim, or large loss water, commercial claims, or farm and ranch claims, which I really enjoy. They have a lot of moving parts to them, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And for me, it was always a challenge to make sure that, like, as much as humanly possible, as realistically as possible, I could write my claim as close as it was going to be when it was all said and done, knowing that there's always going to be more things later, but not leaving a bunch of loose ends and leaving a lot of things for the homeowner to have to try and do that I should be doing, right? So looking at every single outbuilding, right? Looking at every single possible coverage exposure that they've got on their particular claim, looking for ways to absorb their deductibles by going over limits on certain things, especially with like a farm and a ranch claim. Every single outbuilding has a listed limit, right? They might say corn bin, small, or whatever the size is, right? And it's $2,500 limit, right? Well, maybe corn bins and Xactimate are $3,500. Or you call the local co-op and the guy's like, oh yeah, I can totally get you one of those, installed for, $2,900, whatever it is, right? Get the right price for all those things. And those are places where, if they go over enough, and those farm and ranch is usually mostly actual cash value, but then you can start peeling their deductible off those, whatever's over on the, over limits on those. So I don't know. I always had fun doing claims because especially the more complicated ones, because they were like, I wanted to see how fast I could do it and still have it be like just perfect, or as close to perfect as I could get it. And, I will say, I don't think I was the best adjuster. I was above average in most things, but I wasn't like, the guy who wrote the absolute best estimates or had the absolute best customer service or had that, so on and so forth. But I feel like with my developing my efficiency stuff, my time management, being organized, that it gave me a lot more room to be as good as I could be up to a certain point. And, because you have to kind of balance speed, because catastrophe property claims is a volume game, and you've got to close claims reasonably quickly, right? You can't just like do one a day, because you want to have like 100% technical accuracy and absolutely 100% customer service. It's so on and so forth, because you'll never get the work done, right? And you're going to affect your customer service anyway by you can't look at the guy's house for 5 weeks because you're doing one a day because you're trying to be super perfect. So there's a balance there where you're going to get it absolutely as close as you can. And with cat claims, especially wind and hail, it's not hard to do. I mean, there's not a whole lot left, or really anything left, honestly, when you go out and look at hail claims. It's the more complex claims, the water claims and fire claims, where there might be stuff that, if you want to have an absolutely perfect claim, it's going to take you a lot longer than if you just get like the broad strokes, get some money in the homeowner's hand, let them get started, let the contractors get out there and take a look at it. Because no matter if you write a perfect claim or not, they're probably still going to come back higher at some point, right? So you want to at least get people moving, get them taken care of more quickly, get money in their hands, get them into the next step of the process, which is a big part of this, right? So yeah, there's a balance there. You want to be as good as you can be writing claims. The customer service piece, I think, is there's a point in diminishing returns where some people will say, you know, you got to spend more time with the homeowner. Well, I don't think that you have more time equals more quality, right? I don't think that's the equation that really works. If they know they've been listened to and heard, and you've explained everything clearly in a way that they understand, and that they know what to do, what the next steps are, what you're going to do next as the adjuster, and what they need to do next as the homeowner, what their responsibilities are, and they know when they're going to get a check and when things are going to happen. That doesn't take an extra hour to do that. It takes 10 minutes, right? Total. Maybe if you spend a grand total actually talking to the homeowner of about 20 minutes, including the phone call when you call to set the appointment, you can have really great customer service scores, I think. And again, this is on wind and hail, which is you're going to be your bread and butter as a catastrophe adjuster. You know, if you're, again, large loss, water claims, things like that, you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, talking to them about stuff. So, kind of a rabbit hole right there of stuff, a little bit of my experience. Hopefully you guys can get hotel rooms. I mean, there's always Motel 6, right? Motel 6 in Las Vegas. Can you imagine that? But I say this all the time about this particular conference. It's a networking event, right? The board and the people that are, you know, that organize this conference, they want to add a lot of value to the conference by having all these different kinds of trainings, Xactimate and all this stuff. But in NFIP or whatever, but I'm going to tell you it has value because you get CE and it's good training and everything else. But I'm going to tell you that the true value of that conference is the networking piece. So if you're sitting there looking at the itinerary for the conference and you're like, oh, which track am I going to do? What classes am I going to go to? I'm going to tell you to prioritize, heavily prioritize interviewing, right? Maybe do half day of a class and the other half interviewing. Or do Monday and Tuesday interviewing, and then the last day, Wednesday, you do a couple of classes, right? If it was me, I'm doing 100%. And I don't know that they would appreciate me saying this to you guys because I think they want people to go to the classes and stuff. But personally, knowing what I know about that conference and the networking opportunities, I'm 100%. I'm going to interview with every single firm that's there. I want to talk to all of them. Especially as an experienced adjuster, I'm going to sit down and talk about my experience level, what I can do to help them, kind of ask them a lot of questions, kind of get a feel for who they are, what their ethos is as a company, you know, how they pay, that kind of thing. I think one of you guys, was it Shane? Somebody was asking what questions you should be asking the firms when you're doing your interviews. Was that one of you guys? Was in the group. Let's see. Oh, it's Jamie Langan. Yeah, so Jamie had a question in the group, and he said, as a new adjuster and first-time NACA conference attendee, what are some good questions to ask IA firms during interviews and booth visits? Also, what questions to expect? Thanks. So that's actually a really, really good question. I think as a new person, they're going to kind of guide the conversation. But when I would think more about in terms of like, this is a suggestion and a kind of a recommendation, which would require a little bit of work on your part as an interviewee, but I think it'd be worth it. And that would be, say I've got an interview with Pacesetter at 10, right? Before that, or, if I have my list of like, I'm going to interview with 5 firms on Monday. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to have some coffee. I'm going to go downstairs and get a coffee. And, I'm going to be dressed and ready to go. Have my bag and my resumes and my business cards and all that stuff in my bag. And I'm going to sit there over breakfast with my iPad or my laptop or my phone. And I'm going to pull up paysetterclaims.com, right? And I'm going to go to About, and I'm going to look at our story. Let's just pull this up here. Kind of critical, right? So you go to up here to About, our story, and you kind of get a little bit of a feel for what Pacesetter's got going on. They've got, Joanne and Sydney are sitting here, and they have a little podcast that they do. And you get an idea, they started in 1997, which was 25 years ago, right? I would scroll through this stuff and kind of get a feel for who they are. Take a look at their news and events stuff, right down here at the bottom. That's not what I want. And see what they got, right? So let's take a look at this. I know that they've got some integrations, I know this because I already know, but they have integrations with Hover and with Wingspan. 2020, let's see. Yeah, On Scene and Hover right here. I'm going to have questions about, what integrations they have to help the adjuster with their workflow and with like managing their claims, managing their paychecks, that kind of thing. Have they made any investments into making it easy for adjusters, for their employees or for their associates or their, subcontractors or whatever you want to call us? Have you put any investment into the adjuster workflow experience? I'm not just exactly sure how to say that, but basically, how easy is it for me as the adjuster to get into the Pacesetter portal and find the things that I need? And then the next question I would have, kind of piggybacking on that, is like, all right, so I get deployed to a Allstate storm through you guys. How easy is it for me to find Allstate PDFs of Allstate policies that I'm going to need for a particular state, right? How easy is, what kind of on-site help and resources does Pacesetter have on major cat events? Because most like small cat events, like regular old hailstorms, most companies aren't going to have like a help room necessarily. They might have one for a week. If it's a big enough hailstorm, but first, you're deploying 12 adjusters, probably not going to have a help room unless they know half those adjusters are going to be new. But I would ask questions like that, so what, as far as like, what resources do you guys have for new adjusters on site, and then also for adjuster development, right? So adjuster development, what trainings do you have? A training center somewhere? Do you have virtual trainings and things like that? Do you have stuff that when I onboard with you guys that I can learn to do Xactimate? Do you offer carrier certifications, that kind of stuff? So then you go over to pilotcat.com, check them out, because they're going to be your 1045, right? And it looks like they updated their website, which is good. Looks nice. So about Pilot. Let's learn all about Pilot. I know half those guys. Right? It's family-owned business, which, if that's important to you, that's an important point. You could be like, when they ask you, or as you're talking to them, you could be like, I really appreciate that you guys are a family-owned business, it's important to me. So our story, here's the Pilot story, right? The whole thing, more or less. Go to Eberl's, Eberl Claim Service, which is eberls.com. Same thing, right? So I'm going to take some notes. I'm going to go through these things and kind of take little notes. This is what I think looks really cool about them. These are the questions general questions that I have for everybody, right? What resources do you have for adjusters? Another question I would ask is, assuming that you would probably tell me to get all the licenses, assuming that I don't quite have the resources to do that right at the moment, what would you suggest that I do to prioritize getting licenses for this upcoming storm season? Like, what would you guys tell me to do? What licenses should I get? Should I get an Xactimate level 2 or even 3 certification? Should I go to Hague certified reviewer, get a Hague certified level 4, Hague certified reviewer certification? Should I get Matt Allen's fast track to deployment certification? And if they're partners with me, then they'll say, of course, yes, unless they're some recruiter that's, not in the same building as the people that I've set this program up with. Then they'll be like, what? I don't even know what that is. And then you'll come back to me and be like, I thought everybody knew about this. And then I'll be like, the people that need to know about it know about it. Anyway, right? So looking through Eberl's site, who we are, what technology, maybe you prioritize personally. You're like, I don't want a company that's like, writing things on clay tablets. I want them to have like good technology for their adjusters, right? So it looks like they've got an app of some kind here at Eberl. Let's see what Alacrity's got. So I just go through and just like look at all these things and just kind of get a feeling of who these companies are. And you're going to see a lot of boilerplate stuff. I mean, there are a lot of these companies are corporate, so it's going to be honesty and integrity, commitment, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff, which is what everybody says and which what everybody does and should do, right? But you want to, you're going to get a kind of a handle on company culture by the people that are sitting there talking to you, right? The people that are in the booth, that they will. I could say this pretty reasonably that the people that are sitting at the booths are probably pretty good representations of the sort of attitude and company culture that you're going to find at the company at large, right? So, you might go sit down at a booth and the people that are running the interviews are wearing 10-gallon cowboy hats, right? And they talk with that real thick Southern Alabama accent, and they all are rodeo guys. That's probably going to give you an idea of other people that work at that company. And if that's something that you love, then, that might be the company for you. But if that kind of thing rubs you the wrong way, or you were more interested in sitting down with the people that were, wearing skinny jeans and had lattes and, have their HQ in Austin, Texas, maybe that's the company that, you might feel more comfortable and at home with, right? So, for whatever it is, for better, for worse, wrong or right, either way, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. You're going to find that a lot of IA firms are just as diverse and as varied as the homeowners and the customers that you're going to talk to on a day-to-day basis, right? So you do have to be willing and able to walk into any room and be able to look people in the eye and shake their hands and come to understandings about things and have them nodding their head yes, that they understand what you're saying, no matter what, no matter if they're in a, $5 million house or a $50,000 house, it doesn't matter. They both deserve the same treatment. And you're going to find that on storm to storm, year to year, you're going to run into everybody. And it's no different at IA firms. So those would be what I would do. You're not going to have a whole lot of time with each one of them. So it's not like you're sitting down for an hour-long interview. You can get anywhere from 10 to maybe 20 minutes with them. So I'm going to sit down in the morning before I go out. I'm going to have my main list of questions that I'm going to ask everybody, right? What resources, what technology, what on-site, like as far as resources, what on-site resources do you have for adjusters to help them? What offsite, stuff do you have? Do you have like a learning management system, like a huge thing? Like Pilot's got this, a huge learning management database system in their inside their portal. And by the way, this is my Pilot number, 1248. That's how long I've been with Pilot. I think their current Pilot numbers are in the 100,000 something or other. So I've been with those guys for a while. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. Nope. I haven't logged in there for a while. But anyway, they have a huge free to any of their adjusters. You log in and you have access to, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on their learning management system for all these trainings. So do they have those things? Do they have, how hard is it for me to look at my pay stubs and to do taxes and all that kind of stuff with your company? Kind of basic questions about what they do. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick a bullet point or two about who they are, what's their commitment, right? Do they give back? Do they have giving back, right? So Pilot gives back. Or maybe they don't give back. There's nothing here. I know that they do have a large philanthropic sort of presence, so their website is not exactly reflecting that. But, if that's important to you, and you can volunteer with them if you want or not, whatever, this is something that's I'm going to make a bullet point. I appreciate that they give back and they're, that they're family owned, right? Those are a couple of things that, I'm going to maybe try to have as a bullet point that I can have a conversation with them about. Well, what do you know about Pilot? That might be the first thing that they ask you. They might be like, what do you know about us, right? Well, I know that you're family owned and that you guys have you've got a really big reputation for philanthropy and giving back to your community, which I really appreciate. And I really, I think that's great, right? Simple answer, right? It kicks off a conversation. Oh yeah, well, let me tell you, we gave away $1.9 million and stuff, bicycles and soccer balls last year, whatever it is, right? You can start your conversations that way. And again, this is quick hits. This is not life story. You don't need to say, well, I was born in, and then when I was one, my parents had moved to Sheridan, Wyoming for 6 months. And then when I was 1.5, we don't do that. You don't have time to do that. Stick to the high level stuff. And just relax and enjoy yourself. These people they're looking for people that have, are comfortable in their own skin. And that, even if you have zero anything, you have no experience, but you're making an effort to, improve yourself, and you ask them questions about how you can be better right out of the gate as a new adjuster. What can I do? What are the, top 3 things that you would tell a guy like me who's, I've got 4 licenses, I have an Xactimate level 1, I've taken Matt's training. What else can I do? What else can I do to be more prepared and to be more deployable for you guys, to have more opportunities as a new adjuster? Okay, well, the first thing you absolutely got to do is get your State Farm certification. You need to get these 9 other licenses or these 15 other licenses or whatever, right? And then, we really, really recommend that you come down and attend one of our in-person 3-day whatever things, right? We do a workshop, and we'll do it's Pilot Claims College. We're going to do an assessment and give you a rating. You're probably not going to be able to get deployed unless you do that, right? They're going to write that stuff down. Okay, yeah, so Pilot wants me to do X through, whatever. So, and then by the time you guys do that and you have your little chit chat conversation, the beginning, and then you get to that point, what can I do next? Do you have any place in the country that you guys, you're willing to, once I pick up my State Farm certification and my USAA, my this and that, whatever, I'm willing to I've got my bag packed. I'm willing to jump in the truck and go wherever you need me. If you've got an underserved part of the country where somebody like me can kind of get their feet wet and start handling some claims for a period of time, for whatever, right? and they might be like, oh my gosh, get your Wyoming license, and as soon as you get your State Farm thing, we'll send you straight to Casper, right? We've been looking for an adjuster for 2 years, right? Or I don't know, we may not have anything for a new person unless we get like a big cat or whatever, but we'll keep you in mind for that, and they'll make a note, whatever. And then that's it. I would hand them your resume, it's got your contact info on it, and thank you so much. We'll see you at the reception tonight, right? And then go to the next one. And then go to the next one, and just do that all day long. As far as your resumes go, I'll hit that real quick. I got a call coming up, but keep it simple, keep it one page, right? And keep it related to claims as much as possible, right? So if you have if you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, and you've got this CV that's got you've got a PhD, and you've worked for all these different companies, and you've had all these different roles at all these different companies, it's not relevant. The hiring manager is going to see something that's more than one page, and their eyes are going to glaze over. They're going to be like, this person's probably overqualified to do this work anyway. It's going to go in the maybe pile, which ends up being into the reserve roster file where unless there's Hurricane Katrina, you're not getting a call, right? Keep your resume short, one page at the most. Don't have lots of dense blocks of text where it's like, you've got your objective and it's 150 words long and it's really dense, I don't even know, all that happy talk stuff in your objective. People say self-starter, motivated, organized, blah, 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 blah. If I'm hiring somebody, what I want to see is how can you help me? Not how great you think you are. Have that perspective when you're putting your resume together or you're reorganizing your resume. So my objective, or my mission statement, or as an adjuster or somebody who's going to look to hire an adjuster, I want to see objective, licensed and Xactimate certified, independent adjuster, looking to serve an IA firm customers through property claims. Something, I'm just kind of pulling it right out of my ear, but that's a basic sentence like that. My objective as a applicant is how can I serve this company, right? That's not how the company can serve me. So I'm not looking, seeking, rewarding work where, everything's handed to me and it's wonderful and glorious and I get a Razor scooter and, free wine at lunch and whatever. It's not Twitter. You're going to be out in the field serving people and helping people. So I'm going to have a one sentence, real super simple, looking for opportunities to help people in their times of crisis, right? And help them recover from disasters. That's a great objective, to have, is to say, how can I serve? How can I help? Right. And then I'm going to have, education is not that important. Nobody cares if you've got a bachelor's degree or not. I really don't think that they do. I think it's they do have a bachelor's. That's neat, but that's not what's going to get you or keep you from getting a job or get you the job, right? One line, right? You don't need to have so on mine it would be bachelor's, Bachelor of Arts, telecommunications, radio and TV, right? 1995 was when I graduated. That's it. I'm not putting anything else. And then I'm going to, if I didn't have any experience at all as an adjuster, then I'm going to start listing my certifications and things like that. And then below that, I might say, well, I do have relevant experience in sales, right? Or relevant experience in construction, which I did. I had some, as a laborer, basically doing commercial construction on steel buildings, right? So that would go in there. That's about it, right? I'm not going to have I might even put in at the very bottom, I'm not going to put a list of other interests I like to go motorcycle riding and I like to play the guitar and I like to do this. I'm not, no. When you're sitting down and you maybe the guy's got, the girl interviewing you is wearing a necklace that has a Fender, logo on it or something, right? Oh, do you play the guitar? Oh, I love your necklace. That's cool. What do you play? Then you can, that's building rapport, right? And that demonstrates right there, right out of the gate, that you're good with customers, right? If you could sit down and right into making the other person have a response where they're you're going back and forth talking about something that you both like, That's rapport, right? That's important quality that we have. At the bottom of that resume, I might list off the gear that I have ready to go. 24-foot extension ladder, 32-foot extension ladder, 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old laptop with printer, with Xactimate installed, with Symbility installed, and a bully bag G2 with hail damage, with whatever. Like, just list off like your basic gear set, right? I would probably put that. That would be important to have because they want to know, right? They have adjusters that show up to storm sites even after being told like what to do and like that they're going to have to get their own selves on the roofs. No ladder, no computer, no nothing. They just show up and expect to have everything handed to them, right? This shows that it's up to you to do all this stuff. And then it might have a little sidebar with my licenses on it. Put my NPN on there and then list off. I've got, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Minnesota, Florida, New York, and, New Mexico or whatever, right? So I've got those licenses, right? This is an important piece of paper because it's now showing where I'm at, right? This is where I'm at, okay? It's not what I want, it's where I'm at, okay? Let's think about it that way. And, a 12-point font, nothing that's hard to read. Don't have to put it doesn't have to be color. It can just be like a white piece of paper with black text on it, right? Don't have to get all fancy with lines and whatever. As long as it's organized and it's clear and there's some white space in there, that's all you need. Because they're gonna, a lot of times the hiring managers and recruiters and everybody, they get stacks of resumes, right? And things that they got to go through. And if it's some big long thing, their eyes are going to glaze over. If they can't get the gist of who you are and what you're about in the top half of that resume, your objective: I'm here to serve and help people in times of crisis and disaster by handling claims, right? You can even say, I don't have any claims experience at this time. However, I do have all these trainings and all this stuff, right? Okay, I know where this guy's at. I know what I can do with them. Pick up the phone, call him, right? Let's get him into a State Farm store. Let's find out more about him. Let's see what his personality is like. So resume important. Keep it simple, and try to develop a little bit of rapport when you come sit down. You can do some laps around the convention floor before you go to your meetings. Before you go to your interviews, and you're going to pass the booth with the guys with the great big black cowboy hats. You're going to pass the booth. It looks like, Google HQ, and everybody's got, shaved bald heads and skinny jeans on. And then you're going to pass the one that looks like, Middle America corporate cubicle. You're going to pass the one where they don't have anything but the little paper card that the convention center put up with their name on it so they knew which booth was theirs, and they're just sitting at the tables, right? And that's all, and they just have like a keychain or whatever to hand out to you. You're gonna pass all these guys, and you're gonna, you can make notes in your mind. You gotta be, all right, the pilot people, they had, one of the guys has a tattoo on his arm of something that I also know about, right? So you can make a note, like a little talking point, right, with that person, if that's going to be the person that you talk to. Get a little intel that way. It's just like when you're doing claims, except for when you're doing claims, you're pulling up to the house for the very first time ever, jump out of the car. I'm going to take a look around, take a look at the yard, right? Does the yard look, nicely manicured with the lines all perfectly even and everything? They have a flower bed that looks like it's, taken care of. Is there a nice car, clean car parked in the driveway, like maybe a vintage car or something that looks like they take some pride in? So on and so forth. Look for things that you can just say a simple compliment, right? That's all it is. It's not, and even if you don't play the guitar and you see that they're wearing a Fender, and you know that that's a guitar brand, oh, do you play the guitar? Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to play, but what kind of music do you like to play, right? And just ask questions, right? And that's rapport. That's where the rapport thing comes in, and they're going to warm up to you, right? A lot easier that way. So that's more NACA advice for you guys. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But yeah, simple resume, a little rapport, do a little intel research on the companies, absolutely go to the reception on Sunday, the Sunday evening. I think it's at 7 maybe it ends at 7. It might start at 5, goes 5 to 7:30, something like. Anyway, it's cocktails. They may have a band, but everybody's standing around talking, right? And all the IA firm people are going to have their name tags on, so you can, just introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Matt. This is my first NACA. I'm really excited. Any tips, right? Just something that gets, oh yeah, this is what you got to do. Well, first of all, let me get you a drink. Hold on, Jerry, hand this guy what are you drinking? Or, water, iced tea, whatever. And then when you see that person in the interview on Tuesday, hey, I remember you from the reception, and then they've got the golf tournament. Go to all those things, because you might get, especially if you play golf, or even if you don't play golf, or if you play a little bit, you can hit the ball. Go do it. Go get into a foursome on the tournament, because I promise you, 5% of the people in any golf conference, convention, golf tournament can actually play very well. Everybody else sucks. And it's okay. It's fun, right? You might find yourself sitting in a cart with right next to the CEO of Transcend, right? And a big IA firm. And then you're with them for 4 hours or 6 hours or however long the tournament is, for at least 3 hours, and you're chit-chatting, and then the cart behind them has got a couple other CEOs in them, and then you're in that group and you're talking to them, and I mean, it's just, you put yourself into a position to take advantage of opportunities, but you got to be there, right? Be there and take action and put your feet in front of, your feet in front of each other in order for those opportunities to present themselves. Doesn't always happen, of course, but it won't happen at all if you don't do it, right? So if they say, well, it's going to be $145 to go to this networking event, we're going to do go-karts or do a scavenger hunt all over the city or whatever it is, right? Usually it's not that much, but pay it. I'd pay it. $100, pay it. It's worth every penny, because the food's usually included. All the drinks are usually included on those things. And then with like the people that, it's networking. They have those events so that people will loosen up a little bit, have fun, and start talking business, right? So that's the whole point of all those things. So I hear people complaining about, well, it was too expensive to go to Top Golf. I didn't want to, that's just outrageous. Well, then go to your room or go downstairs and gamble by yourself or whatever. The people that are actually serious about this are going to spend a little bit of money if they have to and do these networking events. Don't forget your resumes. I don't know that you need business cards necessarily. Business cards. It's not a bad idea to just have a basic business card that you have, like, it's your name. It's not like, you wouldn't put like Rob Taylor Adjusting Services or something like that, because that sounds like you're a firm. I would just say Rob Taylor, new adjuster, cell phone number, looking for property work. Like, put something like that on there, right? And then that way, because here's what happens, and this happens to me, I'll take 200 business cards with me and come home with like another stack of 100 business cards from other people. And I look at that stack and it sits there on my desk and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go through that. And I start going through it, weeks afterwards. I'm like, who in the world is that? I don't remember that person. Don't remember. Oh yeah, this guy. Don't remember. Right. So especially if it doesn't say like who they are or what they do, then it goes into the I don't know pile unless I specifically remember them. So, you don't want to make yourself sound like more than you are. You want to let them know where you're at, right? With the resume, if you're going to have a business card, which, if you're going to the networking events, maybe take them with you. I don't know. I don't feel like I hand out business cards at like the Top Golf or the whatever, but might be safe just to have them anyway. Anyway, so I'll let you guys go. But if you got other further questions about this, definitely shoot me a message. I will tell you that next Tuesday, which is the what is next Tuesday? The 10th. I have an annual mandatory family ski trip in Canada, and I will not be doing the live stream next week. But the week after, I'll do the live stream from the conference. So that'll be pretty cool. And I'm going to try to get like some some firm people to sit down and answer questions and stuff for you guys. So anyway, good talking to you. I hope you guys are having a wonderful 2023 so far. I mean, we're a couple days in and nothing's exploded yet that I know of. So we'll catch up with you guys. And as always, have a great storm. See you guys later.